Host James Parker on News Talk 820 FM WBAP. All right, let's just jump right into it because I'm going to try and cover as much as I can today. I realize you just have a narrow time window when you get to listen to the show, but after you get out of your car or leave work or whatever you're doing, there's going to be a whole lot of show that I think you'd be interested in. We still got to talk about the trade deal with China that you just heard was announced by Trump today. There's the interesting situation where they're renaming a warship named for Harvey Milk. I found out today, or I guess yesterday, that this new proposal that would no longer allow illegals to get in-state tuition in Texas, I'm slapping my forehead, that we allow them to go to college here? There's Elon Musk now is pitted against the big, beautiful bill, and, people are kind of tribaling off in sort of an intra-team red, internecine team red struggle here. There's updates on Russia and Ukraine, but I want to start with something that I think needs to be put in the SAM context. The SAM initiative is when Democrats last week got together at some fancy pants luxury hotel in New York City and decided that we need to reach out to young men. How are we going to appeal to young men? Well, let's keep that in mind through all of these stories today, and tell me why you think you're not doing so well with young men, my friends on Team Blue. Starting off with there's a local protest. Now, this just got put online when I was on my lunch break, and it's already trending. If you go to Google Trends and you look just at the DFW area, you're probably not aware of this yet. This is going to be the first you heard about it, but there's a protest that's happening right now outside of the federal building in downtown Dallas, about 10 blocks of that away from where I'm sitting right now. And it's not on behalf of a fellow Texan. This is on behalf of a foreign student who is actually going to Columbia University, also New York City. And she's a Palestinian who was attending Columbia University. And she was on a student visa, but then she was arrested and taken to the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado. Now, the protesters are saying she is being arrested and held for speaking out against the ongoing genocide in Gaza. No, you're kind of selling a big bag of you-know-what there. That protest, and I'm using the air quotes there, in Columbia, included people camping out, trespassing, breaking into buildings, not leaving buildings when they are authorized. There's a couple of assaults and batteries on security guards there. But more importantly, this is the protest that you saw with your own eyes on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, where the Jewish kids were trying to go to class and you had people who were masked up blocking them. They were blocking Jewish kids from going to school. So that's a little more than just, I was speaking out against the ongoing genocide in Gaza. No. You were breaking laws. You are participating in a group that was actively breaking laws, using violence or intimidation to further a political cause, which is the textbook definition of terrorism. And also this whole Free Palestine. People seem to be doing ugly things while that chant is being heard. You just had the flamethrower fella from earlier this week, Free Palestine, after he tries to burn 8 elderly Jews. Yeah, so I'm not real thrilled about your choice of association, lady here on a student visa. There was also the guy chanting Free Palestine after he shot and murdered 2 Jewish 20-somethings in the back in D.C. Remember that? They were leaving the Jewish Heritage Museum in Washington, D.C. Some guy comes up behind him, shoots him. When the girl tries to crawl off, he reloads his gun, stands over her, shoots some more bullets in her, then waits for the authorities to come pick him up, and he's yelling Free Palestine. No, this isn't just some harmless little group that happens to be concerned about an ongoing genocide in Gaza. Free Palestine was what the guy was yelling when they pulled him out of his car on Bourbon Street on New Year's Day after he ran over some more of your neighbors. So no, you're not just part of a group that has a difference of opinions, violating your free speech rights. You're part of a terrorist organization at this point. And here's another tip of the pros here. For the Palestinians, the activists that are gathered outside the federal building right now, just blocks away from me here in downtown Dallas, there's a picture of them Credit to WFAA. Stop wearing terrorist garb. You know the kufia, am I saying that right? That it looks like a picnic table blanket that Yasser Arafat used to wear. That's the symbol of, Palestinian struggle. That's the kind of the branding of Hamas. It was the Fatah movement, but there's not really that going on in Gaza. So this is what people wear when they're committing these terrorist attacks. These are the flags that they're flying when they commit these terror attacks. This is the cause they are supporting. People die for this cause. Stop putting terrorist garbs on your head and acting like we just have a difference of opinion. We do have a difference of opinion, but your opinion's terrorism. So no, that's pretty actionable, actually. This isn't a great taste, less filling debate. This is a debate where people on your side are murderers over and over. There's a clear, distinct pattern. And even though people have been wearing MAGA hats for 10 years now, anyone gets set on fire from a MAGA hat? Has anyone even committed a crime wearing a MAGA hat? Anyone firebomb a Tesla in a MAGA hat? Anyone run over fellow Americans while they're wearing a MAGA hat? Has that happened yet? Anyone get shot in the back for being a perceived political opponent by a guy in a MAGA hat? No. So it's not just that you have a difference of opinion. It's that your opinion has been strongly associated with violence. We call that terrorism. So no, this is not a good look. This is not a good cause. And if you're on the side of the terrorists, you might want to reevaluate your worldview. And I don't mean the people that are down there protesting. I mean you other people who are on Team Blue and thinking you're on the right side. And you're thinking, well, we just got to fight the Nazis. If Hitler was reincarnated and he had a Twitter account and he put his little handle, I don't know, Final Solution 123 or whatever. And you know how they put the little flags next to their Twitter handle and their profile or whatever? Where they have like the Ukrainian flag or the Palestinian flag or whatever, Mexican flag, something to that effect. What do you think Hitler would have? Do you think he would have the Palestinian flag or the Israeli flag in his Twitter handle? Whose side are you really on? The terrorist? So that's happening right now while you're at work, out there being productive, paying your taxes, contributing to society. What's Team Blue? Y'all are on the side of the terrorists. Y'all are wearing the terrorist picnic blanket around your head. You know, you don't have to wear a headscarf. This is America. I know it's like 90 degrees outside, and it would be more comfortable if you could take that. You're free. We're not going to oppress you. Just a sad start to this, to the news headlines there that just popped up and it's trending right now. You'll probably hear more about it when you get home. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I can't believe this is a story. Of course, we should change the name of a U.S. Navy warship named for Harvey Milk. Do you know who Harvey Milk is? I'll give you the whole backstory coming up next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. There's a protest going on a few blocks away from where we're at in downtown Dallas, and some Palestinian activists wearing a terrorist headscarf and flying the Palestinian flag want a girl that's being detained. She has a student visa that's being revoked because she was participating in the Columbia protest. And yeah, this is going to win young males back. Good job, guys. Flying the flag of terrorists, advocating for people who support terrorists. Please, can we keep these immigrants in here? 800-288-9227. This is Adam in California. You're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on some of your closing comments from your last segment about, it's not the people in the MAGA hats that are running people down, or it's not the people in MAGA hats that are, flame throwing, incidents like that. But,
right.
What it is the people in MAGA hats that were trying to overthrow the government, the people in MAGA hats that are begging and asking for commutations and pardons, and the people in MAGA hats that are, also against the reform, criminal justice reform and sentencing, but the first ones in line to, beg for the commutation and the pardon. So I just think your whole take is just pretty weak, and it's pretty snowflake. That's the perspective that some of these people want to come from. Thank you.
No, please stick around.
Adam? I'm here. I'm just,
okay.
I wanted to listen to some of the comment.
So have you ever seen anyone in a MAGA hat set something on fire?
Oh, I saw plenty of smoke bombs and tear gas canisters going off on J6. So
okay, that's a no.
Difference.
Yeah, that's a no. So how many people have MAGA supporters killed?
It's probably up for debate. I mean,
the answer is zero.
What type of data are you looking at?
Well, let's just go back to this year. It started off with a pro-Palestinian person running through a crowd on Bourbon Street, killing many people, injuring many more. What's your equivalent for that from the MAGA crowd?
I mean, I do have a life and a career and a family, so I don't keep up with the day-to-day.
Well, then perhaps you shouldn't have a strong opinion on it if you don't know.
Well, I mean,
are you uninformed? I don't think you're uninformed. I think you can't come up with an example of that. I don't think you can come up of an example of someone in a MAGA hat setting other people on fire based on their ethnicity or any reason.
When you want to add the caveat of starting this year, well, let's not start at January 1 of this year.
Let's go back all the way to the dinosaurs then. How many people in a MAGA hat have set another human being on fire?
How about going back to?
I think it's zero. Is that a zero? Is that what?
Let's talk about J6.
Yeah.
MAGA hats everywhere. So talk about it. Fires, assaults.
Yeah, they weren't fires. No one got set up. No one was burning flags out there.
Taking craps in the offices. Going through, private property of elected officials.
Okay, so you're equating a wayward Duke with a guy shooting two Jews in the back when they came out of the Jewish Heritage Museum in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago.
What did I imply that had any sort of equating?
Okay, because the scenario, I have an answer for that. The scenario is I gave you 3 examples of horrible terrorist murders that have happened by Free Palestine activists just this year, and I'm asking what's your equivalent. You're like, well, January 6th they pooped in an office. Oh, you got us on that one, Adam.
I did. That's why you're kind of like backtracking.
Yeah, see, that's called sarcasm, because everyone listening knows that those two things do not equate. Being murdered, being shot in the back, or being setting elderly people on fire or running over them with your car is far worse than a wayward dump.
A wayward dump. The attempted overthrow of the United States government.
You really think it was an overthrow? They didn't bring guns?
Because they were having a hissy fit. Oh, there were guns there. It's been documented. It's on video. They've showed it.
Yeah. The tons of guns there. You just didn't see them. Now, there were some guys who had like a gun in their car and they got charged with it later. So, yeah, of course, there's paperwork. There's guns all over. They were unarmed. They were walking through. They stayed for 90 minutes. They left when they were asked to leave. If they were going to overthrow our government, what were they going to replace it with? What were they going to replace the Constitution with? The Constitution?
So why the pardons?
Because these people who...
Why were the elected officials like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene asking for pardons preemptively?
Because these guys who just walked through the Capitol were put in solitary confinement for over a year. because not only had they already served the punishment that's far beyond the crime, the misdemeanor that most of them did, a lot of them were still going through it. A lot of them were still in jail. Now, anyone that actually hit a cop or I see the guy that bear sprayed or whatever that pepper spray stuff is. Oh yeah, throw the book at those guys. But for the people that we talk to on the show, like Larry Brock, who's probably going to be on maybe tomorrow. Actually, I meant to tell you that, Garrett. There's a lot of people who were walking through an open door, past cops who did not stop them. In fact, waved them on or gave them directions or took selfies, and they were treated far worse than these people who are supporting the terrorists about 10 blocks from where I'm standing right now. And if you really think that there's some sort of equivocation in the violence that has been visited upon society by free Palestine activists versus MAGA activists, you're intentionally blind. You can't really think that. Go.
Are you done over talking over your guest?
Yes, go.
So I guess you're jumping all over the place, and you're jumping to Palestinian and headscarves and terrorist headscarves and making these absurd comments that you do. Your little clickbaity tactics that you use. But in the end, basically my call was about signing off your last segment, trying to say how people in MAGA hats don't ever do this or don't do that. We've seen plenty of examples. We've seen plenty of examples since Trump has gotten into the office the second time.
All right, look, I got 30 seconds here. Do you have an example of anyone in a MAGA hat setting anyone on fire or shooting anyone in the back or running over them with a car? The answer is no.
YouTube and find the MAGA hats with all the Nazi signs hanging off of overpasses. Plenty of it out there. We'll see it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, see, so hanging a sign off an overpass, just as bad as setting an elderly person on fire. Same thing. Does he really think that there's an equivocation? I realize there's a cognitive dissonance in your head when someone puts forth the truth that you have to like let it sink into your head, and it's got to be uncomfortable. You are on the side of the terrorists. You are on the side of the people who commit acts of violence based on your political ideology. You are on the violent side. You are on the bad side. You are on the wrong side, Adam. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, we'll get to renaming a Navy ship next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said they're going to rename a U.S. Navy ship that was named after Harvey Milk. Now, do you know who Harvey Milk, Garrett, do you know who Harvey Milk is? Just yes or no? Oh, okay, so good. He said he's familiar with the movie with Sean Penn that was based on Harvey Milk. Somewhat of a controversial figure, although, it's universally accepted that him being the first publicly elected gay member of something in San Francisco, I think everyone's way over that. No one cares if you're gay anymore. You can get elected to office. Just if you want to balance the budget, I don't care who you're sleeping with. I'd vote for you at this point. But Harvey Milk was also controversial because after he got elected to the San Francisco board of something or other, he got assassinated and he got gunned down. And when you're a gay rights advocate and someone kills you, you get martyrdom. You get special elevation. And so he has been sort of a big figurehead based on not just his work, but also the fact that he was assassinated makes him quite a sympathetic figure. And a ship was named in his honor. And it wasn't even really that long ago that it was named in honor of Harvey Milk. It was the USNS Harvey Milk got its name in 2021. And now Pete Hegseth is going to change it. Now, first, I will admit that Pete Hegseth is doing a little bit of trolling here. It's not really important to the functionality or the capabilities of your Navy. And it's also, okay, the timing is a little suspect. You're going to announce that here in the first week of Pride Month. You couldn't have done that a month ago. You can't do that a month later. So if you think that's just a coincidence, keep going. I don't. But secondly, that doesn't make him wrong. I think he's absolutely right to do this because the Navy vessel, it's not supposed to have anything to do with men having sex with each other. I mean, that's just kind of a joke we all have about the Navy. Really? You want to be on a boat for 6 months at a time with 2,000 dudes? Yikes. So there's always been kind of that joke there. So I don't know if that was part of it. But the problem here starts when we made the naming of ships political to begin with. Of course, this is political. But it was also political when you named it Harvey Milk in the first place. Harvey Milk had nothing to do with the Navy. He might have looked good in a sailor suit. But we didn't used to name our ships in political terms. Now, we do now. If you look around, you got the Ronald Reagan, you got the Harvey Milk, you got all kinds of Harriet Tubman. Again, nothing wrong with her, but she have some sort of overlap with the Navy or the military. We have the USNS Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We have the Dolores Huerta. We have the USNS Lucy Stone, the Cesar Chavez, the Medgar Evers. And this is sort of a recent phenomenon. If you're a World War II nerd like I am, you know what the cool names the ships had back then? Like, think about the Battle of Midway. There's the USS Enterprise. Doesn't that sound a little more intimidating than the Harvey Milk or the Harriet Tubman? Again, not to disparage their lineage and their heritage, but we had the Enterprise, we had the Hornet, we had the Yorktown. See, these are like kind of manly names. These are inspirational names. We had the Intrepid. When you go back in U.S. naval history, you look at the first aircraft carrier. It was called the USS Langley. Oh, well, there's one named after a person. Yeah, he's an aviation pioneer. He's not a politician. He wasn't part of someone's political movement. He got that distinction because of what? His contributions into the thing that's going to be landing on the decks of this ship. But going back in Navy history, we had cooler names back then. Some of our other aircraft carriers, the Lexington, which not named so much after the town, but named after the battle, kind of the American Revolution. We had the USS Saratoga, also a great battle in the American Revolution. We had the Ticonderoga. We now have some of our ships, USS Coral Sea, which was based on that battle. So the problem here is when we start making something political, it's necessarily going to turn to dog squeeze. This is what happens when you insert politics into anything. You're just dropping a turd in a punch bowl. And so then there is also the case that Harvey Milk, in his biography, it was admitted and confirmed that when he was 33 years old, he entered into a adult relationship with a 17-year-old. And while I think the age of consent in New York when that was happening, where that was happening, technically that's legal, and it's still a 33-year-old grooming a minor. 800-288-9227. This is Alan in Dallas here on WBAP.
Hey, James, just want to disagree with you on this fact.
Sure, go
Harvey
ahead.
Milk served in the Navy, and he was discharged because he was a homosexual. So, again, I think they're trying to make a right when they did this, and there's no doubt there's politicalization of this.
Yeah.
But, again, I just think you sound like a bigoted jerk, honestly.
How am I bigoted?
Basically, you're saying that we shouldn't name things after people because of their sexuality.
No, I never said that. And if that's your interpretation, then I did a terrible job explaining my position because that's not it.
You did. You sound uneducated by the fact that you didn't mention first the fact that he served in the Navy and was discharged because of the fact that he was a homosexual. So, again, you said people can sleep with whoever they want. Well, we kick people out of the armed services for who they sleep with, and that's back today. So you could say we've stepped back into the 1950s.
Okay. But that's not my position. I don't think we shouldn't name ships because...
That was your position.
No, I never said that. I never said that.
Homosexuality is an issue to you. You're obviously a fag hater.
Wow. You have to dump that. All right, he said something ugly that we had to dump. Dang it. I like it when they disagree. Just keep your mouth clean so we can keep the fun going. No, I do not hate them. And if that's what you come away with, then you're aggressively misinterpreting what I'm saying. And it probably makes you feel uncomfortable because I'm making a good point. It's like the guy in the last segment. He had to start doing some ad hominem attacks because I was making good points. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Should we rename some of these ships because they have a political backing to the name? I think all of them, even the ones I agree with. Even like the USS Ronald Reagan. No, let's go back to giving them cool names that were either some kind of concept, like the Intrepid, name them after battles, like the Ticonderoga or the Saratoga. I like Enterprise. That sounds cool. Or if you're going to name it after a person, don't make it political. Do it like the Langley, like the first aircraft carrier. He was an aviation pioneer. And I don't care whether or not the person you named it after, who they sleep with. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on Newstalk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Y'all can stop sending me the tweet. Apparently 35 minutes ago, I guess maybe more like 40 minutes ago, Elon Musk tweeted that the reason we don't have the Epstein files is because Trump's on them, and that's why he's so mad at Elon or something like that. I don't know if it's true. I'm looking into it, but I'm in the middle of a show. There's only so much I can do. I do know the first guy who sent it to me, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. Shout out to Dallas Express. He's actually going to be on the show later. So I have something to talk to him about. But right now we're talking about the changing of the name of a ship. I don't mean to make jokes here, but it is kind of funny that, you know what the Harvey Milk ship does? It's not an aircraft carrier. It's not a battleship with a bunch of guns on it. Trina, do you know what the Harvey Milk ship it does? It's a lube ship. It's an oil ship, and that's not a joke. This is more evidence that we're living in the Matrix. You don't have to answer that. But it's literally an oil ship. Really, the ship carrying around thousands of gallons of lube, you're going to name after Harvey Milk. Okay. But I still submit that the problem isn't that it's named after the wrong person. It's that we're politicizing the name of ships, period. That creates nothing but divisiveness that does not help the military readiness. This is a distraction we don't need. And we need to get back to giving them cool names like the Enterprise and the Hornet or the Wasp or something cool like that. Maybe name them after old battles or something. This is Nancy in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. Go.
I think distinguished military, like the USS Nimitz. Hello? Isn't there an Eisenhower, too?
That's a good, you know what? Could that be politicized, though?
I would hope not if these people actually fought in a war and have medals. You know, Purple Heart recipients.
Well,
how can you politicize that?
Okay, but Nancy, my concern here is, you probably didn't hear this, but months ago, it was proposed by Brandon Gill over here of Denton that maybe we should put Trump's face on the $100 bill. And I was making the point that we can't, we have a problem because we've politicized money by putting human beings on it. And the first 10 coins that were minted that I found in United States history, none of them had a human being on them. They all had like Lady Liberty, or here's an eagle. One of them had like a sundial. This one had like some weird looking plants on it, like the olive branch, and an eagle was carrying it. But most of them had Lady Liberty on it. And Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, that's not a real person. We didn't honor a real person. We were honoring the concept, the philosophical concept of liberty. And I think we were better off when we were following that paradigm.
I like that idea. So a great battle. Yeah, you're right. A great battle.
Yeah.
Name it after a fantastic battle. Like, you're right.
Yeah, and they do that. We have the Coral Sea, we have the Saratoga, we have the Ticonderoga. So I like that angle. But you know what? I have a hard time not getting on board with your distinguished admirals, or even like a Audie Murphy or someone who just did something amazing in war. All right. Hey, Nancy gets a full touchdown on that one. 7 points for Nancy in Fort Worth, Garrett. So, yes, this is naming convention stuff. Interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and start with my next guest. I might have to hold her over until the next hour. Emily Burning. She's the president and co-founder of Let Them Live. And I saw this headline, and I must admit, I didn't click through and do my full complement of research. So I booked a guest to kind of explain what's the deal, the rule change that happened with EMTALA. So let's start. What is EMTALA and what changed, Emily?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Well, EMTALA stands for Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, which was a Biden-era rule that would actually threaten doctors with legal consequences for refusing to perform abortions. And it mandated that hospitals perform emergency abortions, even in states where abortion is banned. And so President Trump has actually just overturned that, which was what I've seen one of the most aggressive pro-abortion policies, because it's causing people to fear repercussions for crossing ethical and moral lines, especially as doctors. So it's a huge win that the Trump administration overturned that, and I think it marks a huge cultural shift in our country. We're starting to see people wake up to not just what abortion is and what it does, but how it crosses so many lines for people.
All right. Now, I want to go a little deeper into this. We'll continue with Emily Burning from Let Them Live, because President Trump just overturned one of the most aggressive pro-abortion policies from Biden. So what were the rules? How do they change? How does this affect you? Coming up next, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. We are continuing with Emily Berning from Let Them Live. Now, there were some changes to abortion law, most notably EMTALA. And explain to me, Emily, because this seems to be going back and forth. This was a rule put in place by Biden. What were the rules before then, and what did Biden change them to?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was a really EMTALA, again, for anyone joining, is Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. And essentially, before this went into place, there was conscience protection for doctors. Doctors and hospitals weren't at risk for, punishment for declining to perform abortions. There was respect for life. So the Biden administration putting into effect some penalties for hospitals and doctors to perform emergency abortions, even in states where abortion was banned, was really putting the pressure on doctors and them facing legal consequences, including loss of Medicare funding, lawsuits as well. And it became just a legal and cultural battle for sure. And it caused a lot of doctors to question whether or not they have the ability to practice medicine in ethical ways.
This seems like something that should go through Congress. The president can really just control all these medical decisions with a swipe of a pen?
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I think with things like this, it's a very important thing. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that need to go through Congress. But what we've seen happen is when you have medical professionals who are being prosecuted and facing legal consequences for not crossing lines that they believe ethically and morally they shouldn't be crossing. I think it's very important that the president stepped in to peel back those legal consequences. I think this is also a win for state sovereignty. States that have banned abortion can now continue to enforce those bans without federal interference in emergency cases. And I think that this is just a signal of a broader cultural shift towards pro-life values. And we see that. I think it also gives clarity for doctors. Doctors are not forced anymore to choose between their medical judgment and state law and federal threat. They are going to be able to follow state laws and their ethical guidelines confidently.
All right, we're talking with Emily Berning, pro-life activist with Let Them Live. Now, how does this new policy overlap with the existing rules we have here in Texas? We have kind of a unique situation here.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas has definitely led the charge, which is amazing with many pro-life laws. And I think it's really great because it's going to protect doctors in Texas. Abortion is banned in nearly all circumstances under the Texas Human Life Protection Act, and there is only exception is when the life of the mother is in danger. But it's interpreted very narrowly. So if doctors are performing abortions outside of that very narrow exception, then they can be criminally prosecuted and face civil lawsuits. So EMTALA, under the Biden rule, which is now overturned, was interpreted to override state abortion bans like Texas's in emergency situations. So hospitals in Texas would have been federally required to perform abortions if a doctor deemed it necessary. Doctors in Texas at that time would face a legal bind, follow federal law and risk state prosecution, or follow state law and risk federal penalties. But now, after Trump has rolled that back, the federal pressure is gone. So EMTALA can't be used anymore to force emergency abortion in states like Texas. So Texan doctors can celebrate because Texas law, once again, is now the full governance within its borders. So doctors can act accordingly without fear of federal conflict. And I think that's just a broader discussion about states' rights versus federal rights, and how important it is to medical professionals to be able to work within the confines of their state and not worry about federal prosecution.
Well, Emily Berning, I'm sure you're going to be watching this at Let Them Live as it progresses. Is there a concern that this could be stopped by the courts?
I think there's always that concern, especially when President Trump is the one kind of making these decisions. I think that's always possible, and I'm sure that we will see something like that. There's always going to be someone that's going to be challenging it, but I think this is a really big step, for the pro-life movement, of course, but also just overall for doctors being able to exercise at their discretion and not have to be forced to cross moral and ethical lines. So I'm sure we will see someone trying to fight this, but I hope that this, along with many other pushes for life, are just continue, and we just see our culture continue down this road.
All right, this has been Emily Berning, president of Let Them Live, a pro-life nonprofit, explaining the changes in abortion policy. Thank you very much for your time on The James Show.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up next, we have what is turning out to be the scuttlebutt of the day. Since The James Show started, Elon Musk tweeted the reason that the Epstein files hadn't been released yet is because Trump is in them. That could be a kind of an earth-shattering story if it turns out to be true. Do you think it's true, or is that the ketamine talking? We'll talk with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express next. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, you've been getting a lot of storms just like the rest of us all year. We still have a few more weeks of storm season left. If you have any doubts about your roof, you need to call BlueRibbonDFW.com. Have them do the free roof inspection on your house. They did it on my house a couple weeks ago. Turned out my roof is fine. Now, I had a rotting board in my gables, and we talked about a quick way to fix that. It's not going to cost a whole lot of money. I don't even need to get the insurance involved. But even if you have worst case scenario, I know what you're worried about. You're worried about having to pay the deductible. You have insurance. You know if you need a new roof, you can get some help from your insurance company as long as you've been following all the rules here. But you haven't gone through the claims process. And if they give you a hard time, you don't want to have to deal with all that. Here's the good news. Blue Ribbon Roofing doesn't just take care of your roof. They take care of the insurance process too. Go look at the 5-star reviews they have on Google. Here's one from Jackie just a little over a month ago. Blue Ribbon Roofing are rock stars with the insurance claim process. My roof had been turned down until we called Blue Ribbon. How do they know what to do? Because they've done this thousands of times over the last 31 years. You haven't, and that's okay. Let them help you with it. Save you money, get a great roof, take care of your house all at the same time. And if you mention you heard it on WBAP on The James Show, they give you a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. So call John, Tiss, and Trevor, the family behind Blue Ribbon Roofing. Go to BlueRibbonDFW.com. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP, and what could be the biggest story of the year. I don't know. Have you looked at your phone? Have you looked at your social medias lately? Because they are going absolutely nuts. Right after the James Show started, or really about an hour ago, Elon Musk and Donald Trump they've kind of been drifting apart in their relationship. And Elon just showed up today and threw a big turd in the punch bowl. And it was my next guest who was the first of many people to send me this message over the last hour or so. Check this out. Here's the tweet from Elon Musk about an hour ago that's just shaking the internet right now. He says, time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump, that's his Twitter handle, at Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And he also replied to that, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Oh, my goodness. It is on now. Chris Putnam, DallasExpress.com. Welcome to the James Show. First, is this true or is this just the ketamine talking?
I don't know, man. You know, it's like they said in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Well, let's start with a little nuance here. Just because someone is in the flight logs doesn't mean they went to the island. So I don't know if he means he's in the flight logs, which is kind of a big whoop-de-doo, or if it can be proven that he went to the island.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And by the way, even if he did go to the island, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything untoward happened.
Well, I mean, what else is there to do there? They don't have like a Taco Bell. It's just like a once. what for fishing?
I'm just reinforcing your point that, you know, we got to watch this thing play out. I mean, there's already a couple of theses in development, right? I mean, one is Musk is clearly upset about the big, beautiful bill and the fact that no corresponding cuts that he's worked so hard at making, you know, have been codified, you know, by Congress. And this could be a tactic to get them, you know, to move faster on that front. And it could also be a tactic to pressure Trump and the DOJ Bondi to get the files out, knowing that, you know, maybe he's not terribly implicated, because it's kind of hard to imagine that he would have put his personal bread at stake for all these months, you know, if there was something super terrible there, you know, if he knew that. And, you know, Musk has implied for months now. In fact, he's stated it publicly on a couple of podcasts like JRE, you know, some of the names that he knows are on there already, folks like Bill Gates. So there's a lot to watch here. And, you know, these two, I mean, I don't know what happened between them, you know, but, you know, this has been brewing for a while.
We're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express over the explosive tweet from Elon Musk claiming that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Now, if it's proven that he went to the island, I would think most people would be on board with an impeachment. You think MAGA is going to be willing to overthrow their leader?
It's going to be very interesting. I think that if it's confirmed that he was at the island, he has obviously a lot of explaining to do, and it's going to be very hard to defend him unless he's got something, you know, incredibly definitive that again suggests that he didn't do anything wrong while on the island. But yet, to your point, the public is just going to immediately jump to that conclusion, regardless. And yeah, it's going to be a snowball rolling downhill.
Well, I kind of have a hard time imagining another good reason why the list hasn't come out yet.
I suspected, you know, just personally, anecdotally, that he was probably in there in some capacity as a subject. Because, I mean, as you know, Epstein knew everybody. I mean, he networked with all of those same people. And, you know, Trump's been doing that for decades. And so they absolutely knew each other. You know, Trump's acknowledged that they knew each other. I'm sure that they were at many, many social events together and probably friendly. So let's see. You know, I mean, I'll ask you this, James, like, have you ever been through what we've been through in the media for the last year? This is insane.
No, I was totally floored by the Biden decline cover up. You know, I thought that was one of the most obvious hoaxes possible.
assassination attempts, like Biden getting, stepping down, and that was effectively a coup in that party. I mean, this has been some crazy stuff for the last 12 months.
Well, then your conspiracy head starts to spin, and rightfully so, because if there is like a secret cabal of pedophiles or demonic people that are running the earth, then Trump's in the cabal? Question mark.
I mean, wasn't he supposed to be the guy that was revealing the cabal, the QAnon thing?
Right, but that makes the shooting in the head thing a whole different story now. Because I thought that was the cabal trying to protect their own and keep the outsider from exposing them. But if he's not an outsider, then that's the cabal trying to silence a guy for what reason? If they already control him, why would they want him dead?
There's a lot of places you can go here, right? Into some weird places. And so, by the way, marry that to what we saw from, Bongino and the head of the FBI, but, Cash. And their behavior trying to explain away the suicide was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, that almost looked like a hostage video where it's like you're being forced to read a note. I am sorry for my actions. My captors are treating me very well. I am being well fed and taken care of. It's like, sure you are. Like there's not someone off screen pointing a gun at you right now.
Strange. And then, of course, flashback a week ago. Was it even a week ago? Everything moves so fast now. When Elon, first tweeted, that he hated the big beautiful bill. And that, he didn't support it at all. And, of course, that was timed right at his exit from the administration in a formal role.
But what if you're Elon Musk, why don't you go to Trump and say, listen, balance the budget or I'm going to tell everyone you're on the Epstein list?
Don't you think there had to be some conversation? I don't know if it was that explicit, but
maybe he did that already.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of implying.
All right, Chris, where does this go from here? Trump has to respond, and he has to respond soon.
Yeah, it'll have to be immediate. If, in fact, I'm going to give Elon the benefit of the doubt, I guess, for the moment, that Trump's a subject in the files in some way, then they probably had a planned response in the event that leaked. And so, yeah, I definitely suspect we'll hear something from the administration today. I'd be shocked if we didn't.
Well, that's the first thing I disagree with you on here. It's I don't think they do have a plan for if it gets leaked, because then you have to tell more people and then you risk more leaking.
Well, yeah, the normal PR crisis move is to ignore until you can't ignore it. But my goodness.
Wow.
Like,
all right.
As you know, just like us, this is all anybody's going to be talking about.
Well, I've changed. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express. You were the first person to send it to me, so thank you very much. Right now, I've changed my TVs in the studio. I put on CNN and MSNBC. You're not going to believe what they're talking about right now, Chris. All right, thank you very much for being on the show again. So, Elon Musk tweets out the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is Donald Trump's on it. That's why they're not public. Think that's true? What does that mean? Or is that just the ketamine talking? Is this guy just trying to slap back? I don't know. This is wild. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Imagine there's a ceiling fan in the room right now, and it's spinning on high, like super high. And then Elon Musk walks in with the big pile of dog poo, and he just chunks it right into the fan. That's where we're at right now. Elon Musk tweeted out right after the James Show started, and the public feud's getting ugly because Elon says the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump is on them. Let's allow a little nuance here. He's in the flight logs. That's not really that big of a deal. But if he's implicated in going to the island, that is a big deal. Now, it's hard to believe that he's been able to be implicated in the nefarious dealings of Jeffrey Epstein this entire time, and they didn't release the files all this time. When Biden was in power and when the FBI, who clearly was not on his side, were in power, could they not have buried him this entire time? Or, converse to that, if they take him down, do they necessarily take down everyone else on the list? And so maybe there's just enough big wigs from Team Red and Team Blue that the mutually assured destruction is the reason why the list hadn't come out. And that's what a lot of us have suspected. That's probably what you suspected too. Let's be fair. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Dude, I had to switch my TVs here in the studio to CNN and MSNBC. And I don't know what's going on under the table, but Nicole Wallace just lit a cigarette. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is Lee in Cedar Creek. Hey, Lee in Cedar Creek. You're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, James, let me point something out that seems to have been omitted. And that's the fact that when Jeffrey Epstein went to Mar-a-Lago, President Trump invited him out because he was hitting on all of the young women out there at Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump did not.
The way I recall that is there was a report that Epstein had groped a female employee, and Trump kicked him out and banned him for life from Mar-a-Lago.
So this report by Elon is erroneous. It's just a cheap shot, basically. That's the way I see it. And Elon Musk has done great things, and I'm glad he was on our side and still is. But President Trump did not go. You'll never convince me of that. And that's all I've got to say there, James. Great show.
All right. Well, thank you, Lee. Yeah. So maybe, and I don't know better than anybody else. We're just speculating on this together. Okay. So give me a little grace. But maybe we know he had known Epstein and been friends with him, for whatever friends means when you're that rich and you know that many people. He's acquainted with Epstein for 15 years before that happened. And maybe if you go to Epstein Island or to an Epstein party or to a Diddy party or whatever the equivalent freak off is, and you know this guy's a creeper and you invite him to Mar-a-Lago and he's grabbing your waitresses, you're like, I cannot be associated with a guy this evil. He's not good for business. And if he's this sloppy, then he's going to get me in trouble. And maybe that's why he banned him. And I'm not saying that's the more likely scenario or the probable scenario. I'm just saying that is one of the many possible scenarios. 800-288-9227. Spencer and Justin, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, James, I was calling in on Epstein. I just want one question. Why did Trump kick him out of Mar-a-Lago as soon as he found out what kind of guy this guy is?
Because he would be bad for business, even if he was a bad guy himself. You recognize that a guy that's this sloppy, the guy that's running around, hey, you got a whole island of willing participants, whether or not they're of age is a different story. Why do you have to go around groping my waitress? Because now that waitress can file a criminal complaint. She can call the cops. And now someone has to be investigated. Someone might get arrested. Someone might have to get bailed out and have some court hearings. And he just doesn't want that stink on him. And I'm not saying that's true. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate.
Everything comes out, and I'm sure it will, because I can't believe. I think he's mad because of something else, like the mandates on EVs.
Well, yeah, and the other side of that is Elon Musk does have some motive because of the billions of dollars that he's going to lose from the mandates and government contracts being taken away. It also could be just the ketamine talking. He could be, a drug-addled weirdo like he's been accused of. I'm not sure if that's true, but there's enough gray area here that a lot of people can draw their own conclusions in whatever way their bias sees fit. And I'm not so sure it's all going to come out. It hadn't come out yet, so I appreciate your optimism. I'm not sure if I share it. I really hope it does come out. And I don't care who's on it. If you're on my team, if you're on the other team, all the people that went to that island, you got justice coming. Tom in Frisco, you're on WBAP. Where are you at?
James, I've got two questions for Elon.
Okay.
One, how long has he known this? And two, he was in Doge. He wasn't involved with the Epstein investigation, as far as I know. So where did he get his information? From some anonymous source?
Yeah. Okay. Let's speculate on that before you get to your second point.
Okay.
He had the team of engineers that had access to government computers and databases. He could have gotten that through nefarious causes. He could have had a whistleblower slip it to him. He could have had someone pass him a flash drive and be like, listen, this is the list, in case something happens to me, make sure this gets out or something to that effect. I mean, there's some answers to that, but I appreciate your skepticism because we have to be skeptical of anything that comes out of DC. And so maybe Elon Musk really doesn't know, and he's just saying this to flame the guy on the way out, which seems kind of petty and trifling, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Well, that goes to my second aspect of my call is this really brings to my question of Elon's character.
Only if he's wrong. Only if he's wrong.
But again, how long has he known this? If he was buddy with Trump and knew this all along, but only after the mandate against EVs and, his people that used to love him turning on him because he was part of Doge, has he decided, well, okay, right. I'm going to be a rat.
Well, you're not wrong, but I think the answer to your question hinges on when he found out. Did he just find out yesterday, or did he find out back in January when he was brought into the White House, or did he find out last October? Because that would make your point even more solid. He campaigned for this guy after knowing he was on the list. So I think we have to reserve judgment until we found out when Elon figured it out, even if it's true. But if you're just joining us, we have an absolute barn burner here. Elon Musk has tweeted out the reason the Epstein file hasn't come out is because Trump's on it. And so now we're just dealing with all this poo that's all over the walls and room because it just hit the fan. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. You're listening to News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We've been through a lot together. Just think of what we've been through in the last year. We had the debate where Joe Biden finally presented to the world irrefutable proof that he has mashed potato for brains. So you had the first time after all the primaries were done that a candidate was replaced. They didn't even have a vote to replace him. Then Trump got shot in the head, got shot in the ear. We still don't know anything about that dude. There was another guy who tried to shoot him. No one cares, and you don't know anything about that. You don't even remember his name, do you? Then you had Kamala Harris step in and run one of the weirdest campaigns for 107 days. You had Elon step in with the Doge. And all the way down to Anthony Weiner announcing that he's running for mayor of New York City again. I mean, how much evidence do we need that we're living in a simulation? We're just plugged into the Matrix. Like, you can't feel it in the back of your head, but right now there's some sort of port. There's like a USB-C that's plugged into the back of your neck right now, and you're in a pod and you're providing electricity for the robots, because this is a simulation, because the writers are getting sloppy for the 249th season of United States of America. The writers are just getting sloppy. Elon Musk put on Twitter the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Donald Trump's on them. Whew. Is that true? Could that even be true? If so, what happens next? If not, what happens next? Why would Elon lie? Is this just the ketamine talking? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Tracy in Corsicana. What's going on?
So, Trump's a master of manipulating the far left. Do you think this could all be just an act? He's got Elon may be upset. He may have some, real issues with all the things going on. But do you think maybe he's leaking this so now the far left will start clamoring to have Epstein's files released?
If so, it's brilliant. I can't rule it out because I know so little about, just because I know the same you do, just the headlines and then what we've known through the Epstein/Trump stories and the Elon stories throughout the years. I guess that's possible. Is it probable? Probably not, because they are kind of having a feud and a falling out. And I don't know, would you stage all that for days in advance? Because there's a real issue here. And, I could just really see this going either way, Tracy. I really do. Because I also have the questions on why Donald Trump, after years of saying we shouldn't raise the debt ceiling, we need to get the deficit under control, we need to balance the budget, we should have a balanced budget amendment, we should have an amendment that says whenever the budget isn't balanced, then no one's available for re-election in Congress. And then when he shows up, he's cool with not only continuing the current $2 trillion a year deficit, but actually growing it over the next few years. It's like, well, did someone pull his strings? Does someone have something over him? Because he's acting like this is a big, beautiful bill. No, this doesn't match the values and the promises that you were talking about last year. You always talked about balancing the budget. This isn't anywhere close to it. What changed his mind? So I hate to tell you this, I just don't know, Tracy.
I don't think any of us do. Time will tell, though.
I hope so. I'm not sure if time will tell. That makes us feel better to say it, but thus far we don't know who's on the list. And this Epstein list, I mean, when did Epstein even get in trouble? Wasn't that like 5 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Let's go to Cody in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP.
Yes. I think two things can be true at once. He may be on a list, in air quotes, but I also believe if he really was on this list, it would have been released, because Democrats would be foaming at the mouth to get that out there and prove it. However, you would have everybody being redacted. I think there's all sorts of people on this list, whether they were at a party, so forth. I don't know if you can't specify, these are island people, these are people from whatever convention, whatever party, from 10, 20 years ago. So I think it can be a big mixed bag, but I think if he was truly on it at Pedo Island, he would have been outed in the last administration.
Okay, but Cody, how do you do that if there are people on both the elites of Team Red and Team Blue. How does one release the list without syncing their own side along with it?
I think that's also how two things are true. He's probably mentioned along with both high-level people in both political parties and outside of politics, just named. So I think it's a thing where they said we can't really do it either if it was truly on there, because they'd had to redact their team players, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Would,
I do. I just
and it would raise more questions, you know. But also, it's I think it's mostly that. And I'm saying it right now. We're never going to know who anybody was on these lists, just like the Giselle list or whatever her name is.
Ghislaine Maxwell. And we still don't know everyone that's on the Diddy list either. These people are protected. They're elites for a reason. They get away with it they've been getting away with it all this time for a reason. Apparently, they're really good at pulling off this creepy stuff. Great call there, Cody in Fort Worth. And I like how so many people are calling in saying, I don't have the answers, but here's kind of what I'm trying to flesh out in my head right now, because none of us have the answers. It has really hit the fan today. If you're just joining us, Elon Musk has claimed Trump is on the Epstein list. Over here on MSNBC, they're popping champagne and smoking cigars. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hello, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 98.3 FM, WBAP. Absolute barn burner. My head is spinning. I was just on social media the entire break. That's all anyone's talking about. Elon Musk claims Donald Trump is on the Epstein list. That's why the Epstein list hasn't come out yet. Now, is this guy telling the truth and finally dropping a truth bomb? Or is he butthurt about getting kicked out and he's just lashing out at a guy because this is just a clash of two titan egos? I don't know. If this is true, then this is the biggest story of the year. If it's not true, then it's a really irresponsible, sloppy, childish insult and a complete waste of your time. Which way are you leaning? This is a tough one. Does he have a motive to do it that makes sense? Not really. If it is true, why did he wait until now to say it? If it's not true, why would he say it at all and burn the bridge of him ever coming back and making the Doge cut stick? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I would say I'm leaning toward it's not true. Or it's true in the fact that, yeah, he's on the flight logs, but he didn't go down to the island. But I'm only about maybe 51, 52%. There is a lot of gray area in this one, and I hope we get more info. We're still waiting for Trump to come out and say something about it because you would think he's going to have to address this pretty soon. But in the while, let's just talk amongst ourselves. 800-288-9227. Fred, Colorado City, you're on WBAP. Where are you at on this one?
Hey, Jim. Well, I'm going to agree with you that absolutely 100% he was on the flight list. He did go on Lolita Express. Years ago, before he was president, I mean, they always would give you a right. He had a lot of clout, and Trump needed to go to a trip to New York or wherever, and he jumped on the Lolita Express and took a ride. This was all on the internet, like 6 or 7 years ago. And
right. So, well,
he saw what was going on, and he got off. I think he might have even got off early, but he never got back on again.
Word choice, sir. Word choice, Fred. But yeah, both guys have a residence in Palm Beach and in New York City, and so both of them were taking private jets back and forth, and it sounds like that's a pretty common thing for if you're a billionaire with a private jet and your billionaire friend who usually has private jets too. You just give them rights. Like Taylor Swift was just letting people use her private jet and flying them all over the place because money's no object. And I really hope that's the case. But I'm also prepared that if that man is on the list, if we find out that Donald Trump went to Epstein Island and, we have some pretty hard evidence for it, impeach him. J.D. Vance, congrats. You're our next president.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yeah, I'm just saying that this information came out years ago, and so I don't know what's going on between Trump and Elon right now, but they're always playing 4D chess and stuff. And sometimes, maybe Tesla's company's image got hurt, and so maybe, they're playing a game here. I don't know.
You're bringing up a good point because I also checked a couple breaks ago. Tesla stock down 15% today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a little bit of incentive for him to try and, spread the pain back to Donald Trump. That is an incentive to lie. There could be the ketamine talking, but there's incentives both ways. I really hope we find out definitively what the heck's going on here. Terry in Sherman, you're on WBAP. Go.
My question is, why are we just not hearing about it? Why didn't it not get leaked out during the when he was running for president? Because the Democrats would have jumped all over that.
Okay, well then the question becomes, how do you leak that out if there are people in the elites of both Team Red and Team Blue? How do you leak just Donald Trump without fragging your own side of the aisle?
Well, I mean, that's the Democrats are good at that. They're like, watch what this hand's doing, don't watch what this hand's doing.
Okay, but
So I mean, they can throw out more than just Donald Trump's name. They could have thrown out other Republicans or whoever.
all right, but Terry, I
and
think
left
I think
everybody else out.
I think in my head the way this works out is the elites in Team Red and Team Blue are both on the list. They both have clean, unredacted copies of the list. So if one of them only releases a list that has their opponents on it, then the other side can say, well, here's the part you redacted out. All of your elites are on it. So it's a mutually assured destruction scenario we have with this. And I think I don't know, but I think that's the most probable scenario. There's other possible scenarios, but I think that's the most probable scenario to explain why it wasn't leaked last year. It wasn't leaked when we got it. It wasn't leaked in order to keep him from being president. That's all I got on that one.
Well, I'm just going to sit back and watch and see what happens, and then we'll make our decision after that.
Get your popcorn ready, Terry. Hey, go buy some stock in salt and butter because popcorn is about to be America's new favorite snack. Kevin in Dallas, you're on WBAP. Where are you at on this Epstein list thing?
Hey, yes, sir. So my theory on this is Elon could be doing this to put distance between him and Trump. He's lost millions, hundreds of millions. That would put him back on their side, save his business. But what you really got me going about is, was this really an assassination? I've sent pictures I think I sent you some pictures of when this first happened, like as it's going down. I don't know, there is a photo of the shooter on top of the roof. Okay. So there's no way he could be shot. He's too far down the roof. There's no blood. And so say, for instance, Kennedy's shot. All right, his head come apart. This guy's head clearly did not come apart. There's no blood on this roof with the police standing around and all that good stuff. So what is going on?
Wait, so you think a bullet wasn't fired?
Possible, possible.
Well, how do you explain Corey Comparatori dying, the guy that actually took a bullet? And like there's a hydraulic line on a tractor behind him that it got shot and blown. So there was projectiles flying through the air. But yes, I'm not really pushing back too hard against anything because this really just kind of upsets the whole table. Like we were playing checkers and then someone just bumped the table and they didn't flip it over. They just bumped it and some of the pieces slid over. And now we're trying to remember where everything was and stuff. And we're right to go back because this does change the narrative of what happened during the election. This does change the narrative. If there are elites on both Team Red and Team Blue that are on that list, what does that make the debate? What does that make the primary process? What does that make the assassination attempt? All of that changes if this turns out to be true. If this turns out to be worst case scenario. There's hard evidence that Trump went to the island. If we ever get that, we do have to go back and revisit the last 18 months because a lot of that changes. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up, we're going to continue talking about the hottest thing everyone's talking about right now, Trump being accused by Elon of being on the Epstein list. And if this is true, impeachment talks have to begin immediately. If this is not true, Elon Musk probably needs to go to drug rehab. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Elon Musk dropped a bomb on Twitter/X today, right after the James Show started. He made the claim that the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump's on them. Is that true, or is that the ketamine talking? Are we about to have to impeach the president, or are we about to have an intervention with Elon Musk? The comments on this are fantastic. Keep them flying in. James@WBAP.com is my email, but I'm getting more messages through Facebook. And this is a Twitter direct message from Seth. He says, Trump pulled Jared Isaacman's nomination to head NASA. Elon and Jared are buddies. This is probably part of it. I know everyone's looking for a motive here. Some people are saying Elon's motive to hurt this guy is pulling all the billions of dollars of government contracts. Because between Tesla, all the EV money that's floating around, I think he got like solar power money too. Didn't he have like a solar city or something to that effect? But also SpaceX gets billions in government contracts to make trips to the space station or go pick up astronauts that get stranded there by Boeing or put a satellite in orbit. He's been the workhorse that's replaced what used to be handled by NASA because he does it cheaper and faster, but it's still billions of dollars out of his pocket. So is this just a personal slight and a guy lashing out? I don't know which one's worse, because lying about this would just be pretty dang unethical, immoral, reprehensible, gross. Why? I don't know. 800-288-9227. You know, I usually just come in here with my opinion just nailed to the table, and I can tell you 100% this is where I'm at on this one. On this one, oh man, I am only 51% believing that this is not true. It is not by much. 800-288-9227. Can you blame me? Peter. This is Peter in Cleburne. You're on WBAP. Where are you at on this?
No, it's Skeeter with a SK.
And that's way better. One of my favorite names. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, first off, I want to tell you I'm offended by the way you refer to us Skeeters. I'll have you know I have a proper third grade education.
Right. Do you have a Skeeter bass boat?
No, I have a Kenner bass boat.
I was so close. Anyway, keep going. Now that you've given yourself so much credibility here, I'm interested to hear what Skeeter in Cleburne thinks.
I am certainly not trying to do that. Now, take it from a billionaire's point of view. I may be just a good old boy from Johnson County, but I've been to a lot of parties in my days, and I've given a lot of people rides to a lot of parties, and I may have showed up at a few of those parties and not necessarily agreed with what was going on. So either left or separated myself from what I didn't agree with. And depending on time frames, you have to look at things with perspective. And if Trump's name is on the list, well, let's look at it. Had Epstein gone full-blown perv? Or, of course, it may be that Elon's a little tail hurt and lashing out.
Yeah,
you have to look at it.
Let's go down that road because
billionaire.
Right. So it would manifest itself in the flight logs in different ways. If he does go to a party and think, "Hey, man, this is not my bag. This is not my scene. I need to get out of here," then he might show up on the logs to Lolita Island, the Epstein Island, once. If he does it like 5 times, we know he's probably down with what's going on there. And that's the same thing for like the Bill Clintons and the Bill Gates and whoever else is on these Epstein lists. Okay, maybe we will allow a little bit of a nuance and a grace if you were only there once and you never went again. But there could be definitive evidence of someone going over and over and over to Epstein Island. It's kind of hard to excuse that, but also the nature of it being an island. Like, why would you go there not knowing what's about to happen? It's not something you can accidentally pull up to or just swing by, or you're giving someone a ride. It seems like it has to be a pretty deliberate act.
Well, deliberation, and again, look at it from a billionaire standpoint. You jump on a plane, you'll take a ride.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got a get-together going on. You know,
No, you're making right for me and you.
I look at giving somebody a ride to the,
No, that's a solid point. I'm agreeing with you, Peter, because you and I, we don't casually just hop on a plane and go somewhere. It has to be a very deliberate act for me to be flying in a metal tube at 300 miles an hour. But for these guys, this is just how they get from point A to point B, and it's okay.
Exactly.
Okay, good stuff. No, it's a good addition. I'm just out of time. That's Skeeter in Cleburne. So don't worry, we're going to continue talking about this the rest of the show and probably a good chunk of tomorrow, unless something else crazy happens. But Elon Musk has claimed on Twitter that Trump is on the Epstein list. Is that true, or is that the ketamine talking? I don't think but a handful of people on this planet actually know the truth yet, but somebody does. Somebody knows the truth. So if it's true, I'm already thinking impeach him. If it's not true, Elon Musk really did him dirty and probably needs to get some mental help. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Keep the emails coming, keep the messages coming. I think we're going to do a whole segment on tomorrow's show that is just the message that people have written in, whether it's the email, Facebook message, Instagram message, Twitter messages, X messages, whatever they're called. I'm getting them from all over the place, and it'll take me a while to compile the good ones, but there are some good ones. And even if I don't respond to all of them, I read all of them. Thank you very much. But your thoughts, Elon Musk, if you're just joining us, if you just walked out of a cave, Elon Musk claimed on Twitter right after the show started that Trump's on the Epstein list, and that's why it hasn't been released yet. Well, if that's true, then we got to start impeachment proceedings. If that's not true, then Elon Musk really does need to go to drug rehab and get himself some help. And I'm having a hard time deciding which one is more believable. I mean, if it's true, I mean, we're in the Matrix, aren't we? We're all plugged in to a pod right now. You have a cord going into the back of your head, and this is all a simulation, and we're just being used to generate electricity for the robots. 800-288-9227. That's my official position on this. We're in the Matrix, by the way. This is Kim in Granbury. You're on WBAP. How are you processing this information, Kim?
I just think Elon just threw something out there. He doesn't know what he's talking about. There was no way he'd be privy to that list. And if you think Donald Trump has ever told him, oh, yeah, I've been to the Epstein Island several times, there's no way.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. But also, what if he found out because someone slipped it to him? What if he found out because he was digging with his engineers and they got access to a database and it wasn't known that he had accessed it? You know, I doubt Donald Trump would volunteer that information, but I can't tell anybody they're wrong. No one said anything crazy enough that could be crazier than the truth. So I'm not telling anybody they're wrong today, Kim.
Well, and the other thing, the flip side of that, there are some people that know who's on that list, and don't you think the blue team would have put it out there if Trump was on there? They don't care who else goes down. They did not want him to become president, so they would have released that information. It didn't matter who went down on their side.
I mean, it does. What if Biden's on there? What if Hillary's on there? What if,
Biden was already senile. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't care who went down. They did not want him to be president. They did whatever they could to keep him from being. And if he was on that list, they would have made sure that got out, because that would have turned the vote completely. Not necessarily to the laughing hyena, but.
That wouldn't benefit Team Blue if they lost Donald Trump, but they also lost Bill Gates, and they also lost Jeff Bezos, and they also lost Mark Zuckerberg, all their financiers. It doesn't just have to be Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton, the actual power brokers that are on the list. It could be the donors and the major influencers and people who are like maybe the guy that's running CNN or MSNBC or any of their platforms. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out, just like you, Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Good stuff. Tina Keller, you're on WBAP. Help me make sense of this.
The real sense of it is it's a list. Anybody can make a list and put Donald Duck's name on it. It's still just a list. Nobody's produced it so we can see it or verify it. And I agree with the previous caller. If Trump's name was on there, he'd have been exposed a long time ago.
Well, look, we were talking about this about an hour ago, and I assume you missed that, because if he is on the list and they don't expose him, now they can control him. Now they have something to hang over him. And in the context of a guy who's been saying we need a balanced budget amendment, we need to cut spending, we need to get rid of the deficit, we need to pay down the debt, for him to support this big, beautiful bill that not only keeps the Biden spending levels going, but actually increases the deficit and the debt above where it would have been, that kind of lends a little credence to someone must have something on this guy.
That is true.
Right. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I could see this going both ways. Why would they let him be president again? Why wouldn't they sink his candidacy last year? And then on the other hand, well, it looks like maybe someone has some leverage over him. And I really don't know which one's correct, Tina. And I think your original point is even more stark than you think, because anyone can make a list and put someone's name on it. You know what? We haven't even seen a fake list or any list or something that was made in Microsoft Word art. We just have the statement of Elon Musk saying he's on this list, and we don't have any more context with that. We don't know if is he just on the flight list because he was flying within America from Palm Beach to New York City, or did he actually go to the island? We don't even know that level of depth yet, Tina. So long ways to go. I mean, you made some great points. Let's go to Josh in Everman. You're on WBAP. Your thoughts on the Epstein list accusation?
Called in at the end of January, early February, when that woman said, "Hey, I'm going to release this tomorrow." And
Pam
you're like,
Bondi.
"Hey, what happened?" And then I was like, "She's not going to release it because Donald Trump's on there, right? And she can't release that information." And I totally think he's on there, and I think he's buddies with Epstein. There's pictures with him and Epstein, and I think he's on there. And I also think that Elon Musk could have got that information from his Doge, because he's got access to all the government records now, all the spending and all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure he got it through that. And then I think now he's using it as blackmail. I guess you'd call it blackmail, because Trump's like, "Hey, we're going to cut all your funding for all your Tesla stuff, all your big spending and stuff." And he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, actually, you're on the list, buddy. Remember that?" So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be blackmail if it's not public. He might have been blackmailing it, and when it didn't work out, he had to deliver on the threat. But man, I have nothing to argue with. You really called back a few months ago, and we're on the record saying that. That's good stuff. I'm glad you remember that.
Yep, I remember. I listen to you almost every day after work. So.
Oh my goodness.
I do remember that. And I finally got a call in, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, I want to talk about Epstein again." So here you are. So yeah.
Well, if he's going to be that nice, Josh gets 3 points. That's a good field goal. Garrett, put him on the board. Garrett got him. Okay, you're on the board. 800-288-9227. We have some more callers that are talking about what has hit the fan. Elon Musk tweeted that Trump's on the Epstein list. So we're either going to have to go through an impeachment or a drug intervention for Elon. But I really hope we find out whether or not this is true soon. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, and I wish I had 4 more hours to talk to you today. I wish I got to talk to everyone who called in. So far, everyone's making good points. We have a chance to be real immature right here when Elon Musk claims Trump's on the Epstein list. I'm expecting less. And I'm not saying like my audience is a bunch of idiots, but people have sort of turned off their brain when they get too emotional, especially about tribal politics like that. And to your credit, and the people calling in, I haven't noticed that today. I think everyone, even the most pro-Trump person that I've talked to today, if he's on the list, then he's got to go. Now, there's a lot of people who don't believe he's on the list, and Elon Musk has some sour grapes. Elon Musk has a financial incentive to lash out. Elon Musk, this could be the ketamine talking. But we've really got to get to the bottom of this rumor. Because my concern is, and probably something we'll talk about tomorrow, it's like, doesn't this kind of calcify the rest of the Trump agenda until this gets resolved? 800-288-9227. Let's see how many people we can talk to here. Andy in Burleson, you're next up on WBAP. Go.
Yes, the lady who committed suicide or died here recently, one of the ladies.
Virginia Guffrey.
Okay, the Democrats are going to pin that on Trump or his cohorts. In addition to collateral damage, Bongino, Bondi, and Patel, they'll have to go because they probably knew it. And the Democrats are just drooling right now.
Well, Bongino and Patel were asked about that, 3 weeks ago? And they gave kind of like a hostage letter answer, like, we can promise he did kill himself and we have evidence to prove it and we will be releasing the camera footage coming up. And it's not that I know Bongino and we're buddies and we go back all the way to high school, but he really does seem like an average guy who wouldn't hide that from us if he got his hands on the list. And so, I have skepticism, but I can't say anyone's right or wrong. It just would be super disappointing if Bongino didn't get the list out because he was covering for Trump. Wouldn't that just break your heart a little bit, Andy?
Oh, absolutely. But the Dems, they'll be digging, no doubt about that.
Okay. Well, and for those of you who need the context, Virginia Guffrey was a girl who there's pictures of her with Epstein when she was underage. And there's the picture. She was the one that was giving Bill Clinton the neck massage when she was like 17, hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. And she was the one that is one of the first whistleblowers. Yes, I was at the island. Yes, this is what went on. Yes, there was big, important people that you've all heard of, millionaires and people in positions of power and heads of state. And wasn't she the one that took Prince Andrew down? Or I don't know. I don't remember that level of depth off the top of my head. But yeah, she died mysteriously like a month ago at age 41, if I remember correctly. I got to stop drinking so much. Adam in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, hi. I was actually thinking about everything that was said so far, and I haven't heard yet the political angle because, Trump has always faced a lot of backlash from a lot of Democrats who were stuck in the mud on party lines. But you got to think about it like this. Even though Elon Musk may have sour grapes, Trump is really good at making deals, and his majority in the House and the Senate is slim. And so part of his reason for maybe withholding the list could be a political angle for deal making because there are a lot of heads of states of Democrats on the party on the list as well. Now, whether or not he's actually on the list, I think that's sour grapes. But, if he's using that list to hang it over Democrats' heads to maybe swing some of the more independent Democrats to say, hey, listen, some of your party is on this list. I'm holding the list back as long as I can, but we got to get some stuff done. And it would be not smart for you to vote with your party because when this list comes out, if you voted with some of these power brokers that may or may not be on this list,
okay,
you know what I'm saying? Like the behind the scenes
I'm just kind of running out of time here, so let me address that real quick. I think the more likely scenario is that Republicans are on the list and he's using it to twist their arms because I don't see any Democrats breaking rank. I don't see any Democrats. It looks like they had the meeting. Hey, you want everyone to find out you're on the Epstein list? You better vote with me. I don't see any of them doing that. All of these votes are Democrats in lockstep, I think you would be twisting arms on Team Red. But I think the big evidence against that, I think his arm's more likely to be twisted than him twisting anyone else's arms, because this bill is so damn bad. It doesn't cut. It actually expands spending. So no, we didn't. Not only did we not get the Doge cuts in there, we didn't get cuts at all. We got an increase in spending. With it, not only did they continue the Biden level of $2 trillion deficits annually, it's going to get bigger and bigger immediately going forward. And oh my God, I wish I had more time. Come back. We'll do this again. And if you missed the beginning of the show, it's a barn burner. This is a good day for you to go find the James Show podcast. When I get out of here, I'm going to go put it up. But wherever you're already listening to podcasts, we have videos on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter/X and all over social media. So just remember the little old James Show. Next time you're goofing off on your phone and you want to kill some time, you can kill it with me. And I'll be back to do this tomorrow. If you send an email, I'm going to be compiling them for a segment specifically for emails about this story tomorrow too, james@wbap.com. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.